Welcome back to another edition of the Draft Geeks podcast, guys. Today we're going to bring you a post NFL trade deadline, kind of mid-season college football 2026 mock draft. It's here. Everyone loves mock drafts. So we're going to bring you what I think this is our first one since we did a way too early mock draft, which those don't even count, but still it's fun to do. Hopefully you guys are ready because the Draft Geeks podcast starts right now.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Draft Geeks podcast. Jace and I are pumped to bring you guys our first mock draft of, I guess, draft season starting up for some teams right now. Certainly at the top of the draft. Jace, how you doing? I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, I'm pumped. I love mock drafts. I mean, I've been looking at them from the Athletic, Dane Brugler, from a bunch of different people, PFF. I've been doing a bunch of, or not doing, but I've been looking at a bunch of different mock drafts because it is kind of that season. I mean, I know that both of our teams, the Patriots and the Ravens, are fighting for playoff spots, but there's definitely a handful of teams in the NFL that are already looking to draft season. And one of those would be the New York Jets, who just signaled to the whole world they're looking to the next two drafts with all the moves they just made. But it's going to be fun. I love doing mock drafts, and it's going to be fun to talk through some of these picks and talk about some more risers in the whole process.
And listen, we'll definitely get to the Jets. We'll get to the Jets twice. They're going to be picking at 3 with their pick, and then we are going off the current order, so they'll be at 32 because the Colts are massive overperformers, and not in a bad way, just outperforming expectations. So that'll be 2 first rounders for the Jets, 3 first rounders for the Jets in 2027, which is shaping up to be a potential historic class.
They're stacking first round picks in that draft like I am in my dynasty leagues.
Yeah.
Trying to get every single pick for Jeremiah Smith or Ryan Williams. That's what they're doing.
They're just going to get Arvell Reese at 3. They're going to get Sonny Styles at 32. They're going to get Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Smith. They're just going to be the Ohio State Jets, and that would probably work out just fine.
Yes, it wouldn't be a bad idea, honestly. You might as well try it based off of how their season's gone right now. So, but for those of you that are new, please leave a like on the video. Subscribe on YouTube. If you're listening on any podcast platform, you can flip over to YouTube right now, and you can see the actual PFF mock draft simulator, which we will actually pull up right now. And then, of course, wherever you're listening, rate us 5 stars, follow the show. I will be doing odds today. Max will be doing the evens. We kind of decided this because he wanted to know if I had an answer for what the New Orleans Saints should do with the number 1 overall pick, addressing the quarterback position. And I will answer that right now for you, Max. You think you know what I'm going to say? I am going to say that they should not.
I agree, Jace. I agree.
The only reason you cannot invest a second-round pick in Tyler Shuck, no matter how bad that pick was, and give him half a season and move on from him. As hard as it will be, I still don't know. There's guys that have risen to the occasion, right? Fernando Mendoza. You have Dante Moore. You have a bunch of other quarterbacks, Ty Simpson, who are in the conversation for the first overall pick, but I don't think that means it's not like a no-brainer number 1 overall pick like Caleb Williams was a couple years ago, or like Jaden Daniels or Drake May would have been if they weren't with Caleb Williams. It's not that type of quarterback class. So I don't think moving on from him is the right answer. The best thing for me, in my opinion, what I would do, let me start this draft, is I'm going to go with who I believe is the best player on the board, someone that has been playing so well for a lot of years, a lot of games. And when you look at his team, the 2 games that they've lost, he's been non-existent. And that's Ruben Bain Jr. out of Miami. I think they need to address the defensive line. And they've done it throughout the last couple of years, right? They've taken Brian Brisset. They've tried to build that defensive line, but Ruben Bain is a totally different player. So I'm going to have the Saints taking Ruben Bain Jr. from Miami with the number 1 overall pick, pushing the quarterback can down the road a little, but you can't spend that high of draft capital on Tyler Shuck, no matter what people think about the pick, and only give him 10 games, maybe less to start. You got to give him a little bit more to at least see, because that's high draft capital.
I think I'm in lockstep with you there. I don't think adding a third young quarterback to that room changes much about this team. I think adding Ruben Bain Jr. changes this team. I'm not convinced that Tyler Shuck is the best quarterback on the Saints, but I do think you owe him the shot. And I think you can go into next year knowing you're not going to win the Super Bowl, Saints fans. You guys are not going to win the Super Bowl in 2027. So you can go into that season, have the open battle between Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shuck. You can add somebody else into the mix. You can go in the third round and take a Garrett Nussmeier. You can be the team that swings on Drew Aller in the 5th or 6th round. If Sam Levitt, Lenora Sellers, or John Mateer comes out, you can take that swing. But if you end up with the number 1 overall pick, I don't think you can take a quarterback, any of Mendoza, Moore, or Simpson, who may not end up being considered a first-round talent. So we'll see how it goes. I think there's tons of options towards the back half of the draft. Guys I didn't mention, like a Trinidad Chambliss, Josh Hoover, if he comes out from TCU. There's tons of guys who could at least be fun options if you give Tyler Shuck the first 5 or 6 weeks next year and Spencer Rattler doesn't do anything in the offseason. You're like, let's turn it over to somebody that could be our at least future backup if we want to cut ties with both Spencer and Shuck. So that's a long-winded way of saying I think the Saints can avoid quarterback. I think they can grab the best player, and I think they can make the Titans' lives at the second pick really tough, because now you've left me with no idea what to do here. At number 2, I think it's an open conversation between Jordan Tyson, who is my wide receiver 1. And listen, Caleb Downs, I would love to take him here. I don't know if a safety goes number 2, but it might be the year. It might be the year because the next guy I'm talking about is Arvell Reese. He's a linebacker. I don't know if a linebacker goes number 2, but if you're down to a safety and a linebacker, I'll take the better player, which is Caleb Downs. And then there's Peter Woods, who would be a very solid addition and kind of open up the door for potentially trading Jeffrey Simmons, which the Titans probably should have done last week after the Quinnen Williams deal showed you what you can get for a 28-year-old. Very good defensive tackle, but like the Jets, the Titans aren't going anywhere. Jace, I'm going to phone a friend for a little bit of input. See if you can get the ball rolling for me here. Titans have so many holes. There's not like a player that jumps off the board in terms of making the most sense. Lots of needs. O-line. I would love it if there was a great O-lineman in the spot. There's not.
Yeah, I would have no problem taking a Caleb Downs or an Arvell Reese. I think that they are a better player than Peter Woods right now. But I think Peter Woods is probably a better fit for the Titans, especially with what you said. They got to move on from Jeffrey Simmons. Him staying there is not going to do them any good. They can probably get a second round pick, maybe more for him. And so moving him for another asset and just getting younger, building around Cam Ward, you can use that second round pick or whatever you were to get for him, plus the cap space to go out and sign other players. I think that one makes a ton of sense. And when you get looking at this draft class, maybe, further down the road, say we're in February, March, you get some testing numbers, maybe Arvell Reese and them. Yeah, maybe they're not a top 5 pick. Maybe they're a top 10 pick, somewhere in that range. But I'd have no problem taking one of those guys right now because the film says they're good enough. Right now, Caleb Downs, Arvell Reese are good enough for the number 2 overall pick. But I think you hit it on the head with the Peter Woods discussion and trading Jeffrey Simmons.
So they have Tavondre Sweat, which is somewhat of a presence at defensive tackle. He's been a good player. Cedric Gray's had a breakout for them this year at the linebacker position. And safety, there's a lot on Xavier Woods. I don't know how much that gets you. Jason, I think I'm going to take Caleb Downs. He's a safety. And, listen, Kyle Hamilton way back in 2022 was my number 1 overall ranked player. I was mocking him 3 to the Texans for the longest time. And then right around the winter, January, February, I kind of accepted that wasn't going to happen. And then slid him down the board. But it's still November. And until we get more clarity on where the Titans are going, I think they need more help in the back 7. They could keep Simmons and Sweat. That's a fine interior D-line duo. I just think they're wasting Simmons' career and not cashing in when they should. Let's go get Caleb Downs, the future of the Tennessee Titans defense.
I love the pick there. I'm not afraid to take Caleb Downs or Arvell Reese this early in the process because of how good they've been. If you haven't listened to our last episode where we talked about positional risers, I hit on Arvell Reese, and he has been that good. He's been tremendous. He's playing in an NFL style defense already with Matt Patricia as the DC, and he just does so many things good, like really, really good. He can rush the passer. He covers ground. He's physical. He has the size. He does a lot of things really well to warrant a top 5 pick at this point. So love the pick there, though, with Caleb Downs. Was one of our top 5 players going into summer scouting. I know we didn't get to the safety episode, but he would have been up there for most of us
at the top.
So, I'm going to go to the New York Jets, who traded a bunch of assets.
Yeah.
And this is a team that I don't think can avoid the quarterback position. Okay. I think they have to. I really do. I don't think Justin Fields is the answer. The biggest thing they need to do with all these picks, right? Get a quarterback in the system, start developing him with your 2020 or with your 2027 picks, plus the one that we'll talk about here in a minute at 32 overall. You can build around that quarterback. But I'm going to take my number 1 overall quarterback as of right now, and that's Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana. I think what he's done there has been great after transferring from Cal. I think he's a great processor. He throws the deep ball very good. When he has a clean pocket, he can step up and sling that thing, and he's throwing it to all aspects of the field with confidence. He's throwing it with accuracy. And right now, he's my number 1 quarterback. We'll see how that changes. He's leading Indiana to potentially a Big Ten championship title, potentially the number 1 overall seed in the college football playoffs, and we'll see how far they go, potentially to a national championship. But Fernando Mendoza is a huge reason why Indiana is staying there, and Kirk Cignetti. We're not going to throw that under the bus, but Fernando Mendoza, it has this offense rolling, and he has playmakers around him, but they're not big-time playmakers. You're not looking at, oh, man, he's got Julian Sayin-type weapons. You don't got Ryan Williams like Alabama, and that's not a knock on those quarterbacks because they're playing great in their own. But what Fernando Mendoza is doing with that Indiana offense is incredible, and I think that he's my number 1 quarterback right now. So I'm going to mock him to the New York Jets here with the 3rd overall pick.
I like it, and I think I have some hesitation about what the Jets should do because, in the when you bring in the 2027 picks into the fold, it's like maybe they build the castle before they crown their king per se, right? Because looking ahead, there's Julian Sayin and those guys, but like looking ahead this year, there was Lenora Sellers and Drew Aller and Arch Manning. And that didn't happen.
Yep.
And there's not all these guarantees. And I know Julian Sayin looks better than any of those guys did right now at this time last year. But it is tough to kick that down the road when you are so desperate like the Jets are and have every right to be. I don't think Fernando Mendoza would be a bad option. He isn't my top quarterback right now. I like Ty Simpson a little bit better, but those 3 are kind of in the same bucket. And frankly, I don't trust the Jets to develop Dante Moore. I don't think that's the best fit. I think Mendoza or Simpson is the best fit. Mendoza may go ahead and win himself a Heisman Trophy. He's executing Indiana's offense to perfection right now, runs those RPOs very well, has an NFL arm, was my summer scouting QB4 for a reason. So I've liked this guy for a while. 3rd overall pick would be something to get used to for him for sure, because I think he's kind of right around that Cam Ward range, maybe a little below. And it took a second to get used to saying Cam Ward number 1 overall pick. But we came around, and I'm fairly certain we'll have the same conversation with a guy like Mendoza. To their division rival, the Miami Dolphins, who are just a dumpster fire right now. I don't think anybody that's a part of this organization currently should have a say in making this draft pick. Pretty comfortable saying that should hopefully be the case. If there's anything about the Dolphins, that edge rush is probably the only secure piece of this team. Bradley Chubb and Chop Robinson. I know they just traded Jalen Phillips, which was a pretty good move, I think, given his injury history. You just can't count on that guy. I'm not going to go ahead and replace him because Reuben Bain's off the board. They could use a receiver because Tyreek Hill's career is coming to a close. I think when you're entering a rebuild, you can find receivers later on. This is a deep receiver class. So I think they can address that later on. I'm going to take the guy I almost took at number 2. I'm going to take Arvell Reese here for the Miami Dolphins. I think they need some serious help in the middle of that defense. Arvell Reese, I'm not the most comfortable with him in coverage, but about everything else in his game, I think, is exceptional. He attacks the football so well, moves laterally so well. You can line him up on the edge over any 5 of the offensive linemen. He'll generate pressure, and he's great against the run. And as you mentioned with Caleb Downs, he's in that NFL Matt Patricia system. I don't think this guy will have the hiccups that you kind of expect with rookie linebackers. Arvell Reese is a top 5 to 10 player in this draft and would be a good pick at 4 for Miami.
Yeah, I love the pick. I'm falling in love with the player more and more. And when you put on Ohio State film or just the game, it's hard not to see him out there just wreaking havoc, making plays wherever he is, whatever he has to do. He's doing something great. And so I love the pick there. The New York Giants here at pick 5. I'm going to go with another Arizona State boy. They got Cam Scatterbo, and it seemed to work. Malik Neighbors is on IR, and we all know when he comes back, he's going to be great. But outside of that, the receiver core stands at Jalen Hyatt, Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, Gunnar Olszewski, Bo Collins. They need receiving threats. And I think the versatility of Neighbors to play the Z, the slot, the X, whatever it is, would be complemented great with Jordan Tyson's true X body frame, bigger, more stout receiver that goes up with the contested catches. And Jackson Dart's looking like he has something. Like they found something in them. A lot of people did not like the pick there. They thought it should have been Shadur. They make the trade up. They go get the guy that Dable wanted all along, and it's turned out to be great for them. So giving him another weapon, and that's Jordan Tyson out of Arizona State. Again, he's my number 1 wide receiver as of right now. I believe he was my number 1 wide receiver in summer scouting. And so that would be a great compliment, putting him and Scatterbo back together, and be a great compliment for Jackson Dart once he gets Malik Neighbors back on the field in 2026. So Jordan Tyson to the Giants at 5.
I like it. And I think if there's a lot of Giants fans listening saying, like, we need to protect Jackson Dart, I think you do too. But I just don't think that there is an offensive lineman that's a good pick here at 5. That's just the fact of this draft class. We're not doing trades right now. Maybe the Giants would trade back and take somebody like a Spencer Fano, but I'm not even sure if that's worth it, passing up on a guy like Jordan Tyson, who can be your 1B and free up Wan'Dale in the slot. You can move on or start to move on from Darius Slayton. I feel like that's something Giants fans have wanted to do for a long time, because I think he just signifies mediocrity when he's running the receiving core. Not that he's not a good player, but he's not the best. You want to up that receiving core. Tyson does that. And I'm going to carry over the same conversation for the Browns. They need offensive line so bad. They have the luxury of picking again at 19. That's in your hands, but I think offensive line should and could be the pick there. I'm going to pass on offensive line for now, because I don't think there's a player good enough to take at 6. You see on the screen right now, if you're watching on YouTube, the other 2 needs are the receiver position and corner position. My top corner, I think it's a little early for Mansour Delane. I'm going to stay in the receiver lane and make Jace a happy camper, because I think people like when they hear that they're right about something. And Jace was sure on the money with Carnell Tate this summer, and I've come around. Carnell Tate, my number 2 receiver at this juncture. I think he would be a spectacular addition for the Browns. I don't think when the Browns turn this thing around, they're going to have Jerry Jeudy on their team. Cedric Tillman's contract is coming up. The Browns don't have much in that receiving core beyond those 2 guys. I know they just added Harold Fannin. I don't think he does more than that, like H-back, RPO tight end in the flat, some of these schemed up wheel routes. I don't think he does much more than that as the tight end, out of the tight end spot. Carnell Tate can be the wide receiver 1 of this team in the future, and low moving cost. Keep the Browns fans happy, as they were when Quinshon Judkins came to town. That's the 3rd Buckeye off the board, by the way.
It's incredible how much talent Ohio State has.
I've only taken Buckeyes.
That's impressive. No, I mean, I liked Carnell Tate, and I had my concerns too, but man, when he is out, and obviously it was Emeka Egbuka and Jeremiah Smith last year, and then Carnell Tate was the 3rd option. They're taking away Jeremiah Smith this year, and Carnell Tate burst onto the scene. And now it's like, holy crap, we can't play with fire by not putting attention on Carnell Tate, because he's so good. He has a 92.3% contested catch rate. He has 39 receptions for 711 yards, 7 touchdowns already. He's averaging over 18 yards per reception. And he's another X receiver that will go on the outside, bigger frame, sitting at 6'3", 195. He eats up grass. He gets on guys quickly. He's able to run past them because of that. So I'm excited to see him. I think he's bona fide top 15 pick as of right now. We'll see testing numbers and stuff, but if he keeps playing and put up the numbers he's putting up, he's going to be a top 15 pick. And he could push Jordan Tyson for wide receiver 1, depending on, some of those things that scouts and NFL teams will look for through the testing process, explosiveness. Maybe Jordan Tyson doesn't quite run as fast as some people think he might. So that would be the one thing there. But let's move on to the Raiders at pick 7. They're also a team that might be looking at quarterback. If I was going to go quarterback here, I'd go Ty Simpson, and that's definitely not out of the realm. But I think that Peter Woods is a really good option right here for them to bulk up that defensive line. They obviously already have Max Crosby on the edge, who's one of the best, if not the best guy to get to the passer in the NFL. You can argue a couple other guys, but consistently Max Crosby is always going to be one of those top guys, and they paid him a ton of money. So getting more stout on the interior defensive line is something that interests me in Peter Woods, and I think that's the way I'm going to go. Geno Smith is not having a good year, but I just don't think that it's all on him, right? Like, you have a rookie running back who is great. He's a generational talent, but he's got to get used to the NFL. You've been messing with the offensive line all year. Jacoby Myers was your wide receiver 1. Brock Bowers has been out for a couple of weeks with an MCL sprain. So he hasn't been dealt cards. You can use him for a bridge quarterback, like you said, to build up some of the other positions and get someone else in 2027 or sign someone or whatever it is. Vegas is a destination spot also. Like, I know that they're not good right now, but with Pete Carroll in Las Vegas with no state tax and stuff, there will be free agents that will want to go to Las Vegas. I promise you that. I promise you Las Vegas will not have a hard time signing some quarterback if they really wanted to go out and pay one. Now, who that is, I don't know. Would Kyler Murray be an option for a trade? Who knows? We're talking about hypotheticals here, but this is the situation where I like maybe bulking up the defense or some other positions a little bit more for the Raiders and not taking a quarterback right here, kicking the can down the road a little bit, maybe taking one of those chances on, like you mentioned, John Mateer, Garrett Nussmeier, one of those guys in the second or third, or just waiting until 2027.
And I don't mind that. I don't think the Raiders need to force the issue. There's a lot of holes on that team right now. And, maybe Geno Smith plays better if you start filling him. We'll see what happens. I don't think there's anything wrong with taking Peter Woods at the 7 spot. Bengals offensive line's terrible, but they have Orlando Brown and Amarius Mims at tackle. I don't think I'm going to go in that direction. I think I'm going to stay with edge rushers. They don't really have anybody outside of Trey Hendrickson. Who knows what team he plays on next year? That's just becoming a thing every single offseason. Jace, I'm going to take Keldrick Falk, the edge rusher out of Auburn. He's a tremendous run defender. You play in a division against the Browns, the Ravens, the Steelers. Those teams like to keep the football on the ground. Keldrick Falk, I think, is more steady, higher floor than a guy like TJ Parker, a guy like David Bailey. Keldrick Falk, I think, is a steady guy that the Bengals need on that edge, set the edge, and really shore up this defense.
Yeah, like Keldrick Falk, guy that can do multiple things. And the Bengals are probably going to lose Trey Hendrickson. Not probably. They are going to lose Trey Hendrickson. It's pretty much they're losing him. I don't know how they didn't trade him because I believe he can opt out after this year. And so they might look to trade him.
Why would he stay?
But yeah, I mean, best case scenario, they can trade him, but that's playing with fire. So I don't know how they didn't trade him. Obviously, they didn't get what they wanted, but still. The Commanders at pick 9, this is another one where it just scares the crap out of me. You cannot keep seeing Jaden Daniels go down. Obviously, he's probably going to miss the rest of the is it confirmed he's out the rest of the year, right?
I just watched the video and assumed.
Oh, it's disgusting.
But yeah, that guy.
And he's already missed a couple games with a knee injury.
Yeah.
So I'm not high on this offensive line class in general, but I'm going to go with someone that I believe can move into guard because I think that's what they need right now. They drafted Josh Connerly and they have Laramie Tunsil, who they traded for. So they could take a tackle, but I'm going to go with Francis Mauigoa out of Florida, Miami, I should say, not Florida. Miami, Florida.
I mean, yeah. Miami is out of Florida. So.
You're right, but I think he's probably going to project better as a guard. You can bump him in, let him, and that he's a tank. Like he is a big dude. I think that this would be a good fit for them. Give them an option to protect for Jane Daniels, because the only thing that's stopping him right now is injuries. Like when he's playing, he's good. And they're going to need to address the receiver situation, because Terry McLaurin did sign an extension, but he's a little bit older. Debo's getting up there, but you got to protect him, number one, first off. It doesn't matter. And so Francis Mauigoa, moving him inside would be something that I would be interested in. He's mostly played right tackle. Well, actually, he only has played right tackle, but think he projects more as a bigger, stouter guard in the NFL.
Listen, I like it. There's going to have to be reaches on this offensive line in this offensive line class. I thought you might have gone Proctor when you said moving somebody inside, but I do like Mauigoa over Proctor, both as tackle and as a guard. And to touch on the Bengals pick really quickly, I know they had Shamar Stewart. They lose Trey Hendrickson. Now you only have Shamar Stewart, and he hasn't been great so far. So like Falk there, just thought I wanted to add that about back-to-back edge rusher picks. Ravens at 10. This is a weird middle ground where I hope they're not. I would hope if the Ravens stink, they just really stink and go ahead and go 3-14, make me miserable, get Reuben Bain. I'm not the biggest TJ Parker fan in the world. I think they could use a veteran edge rusher, a big signing, somebody that really knows how to get to the passer, somebody proven opposite Mike Green. Kyle Van Noy's getting up there, and I don't think in age he's getting up there, and I don't think they need a Parker, Mike Green, two guys trying to prove it. I think that brings a lot of risk onto the table. Guard is definitely a spot where the Ravens can improve over Daniel Falele. They have Ronnie Stanley and Roger Rosengarten at tackle right now. I don't think I would take a Caden Proctor here and kick him inside, and I'm not sure about a Fano. There's one guy that sticks out, and it's a corner. It's Mansour Delane out of LSU. I love the Ravens corner room right now with Nate Wiggins and Marlon Humphrey and Chido Uze. But Chido's old. He's always hurt. Marlon, the clock's ticking on Marlon Humphrey, how much time he has. They like using him inside. I want to go get another boundary corner. I think Mansour Delane really shores up this Ravens defense. That's the direction I'm going to go in. Really try to start to create a no-fly zone out there in Baltimore. I think Mansour Delane would be the first step to really fixing what's been a lackluster defense. But I think you add in Delane, you had Starks go in last year. I think that would make this defense very hard to penetrate.
Yeah, I mean, that would be, you kind of took my pick for the Rams here, which I'm not
That's
mad
good.
at.
Yeah, go take Jermon McCoy.
That's fine. I mean, if I was going to look at corner, that I'd look at Jermon McCoy or maybe Avion Terrell. But I want to have a conversation here about the Rams, because this pick was acquired because of the trade with Atlanta last year that Atlanta used to move up for, who was it?
James Pierce Jr.
James Pierce, right? Because they got Jalen Walker, then James Pierce. And there is a lot of talk about, obviously, Matthew Stafford at 37 years old is playing great football. But at some point, Sean McVay's got to have a successor. And I think that he would look at Dante Moore seriously right here, because he knows he's not ready. But he can let him sit behind Matthew Stafford for a year, maybe even two, and not rush it. Let him learn the system. And then now he's coming in with Puka Nacua and all these other guys that they're going to have drafted. So I don't love I'm not saying I do like it. Like, it interests me, because I think that Dante Moore in a Sean McVay system would be incredible. There's probably more impactful players, but what are your thoughts on them actually going with a quarterback here? Because they do have another first round pick that will be coming up in the mid to late 20s. Is that where they maybe look at quarterback, or do you think 11 is something that they would pull the trigger on?
I think they take Dante Moore here. That's the side I would be on, just because his potential is the highest of the group between Moore, Simpson, and Mendoza. And he doesn't have to play this year in 2026. He may not have to play in 2027. And that's okay, because he's 20 or 21 years old, and they get to pick again. The Rams don't have many needs. I think they need kind of interior offensive line. That's about it. I know corner is a common mock position for them, but listen, you got a whole draft for a reason. There's going to be corners. There's going to be O-linemen. There's not going to be Dante Moores. That's who I would take. And especially because they have that second pick.
Yeah, if you're not on YouTube, I just clicked it because I think that's where I was leaning. You look at, hey, could they use a corner? That's why I thought about Mansour Delane there.
Yeah.
It would have been in consideration. Avion Terrell would have been in consideration there. I don't think there's interior offensive linemen unless they do want to move Caden Proctor in there, like I said, with
Fano's
Francis
not a
Mauigoga.
guard. So
yeah, he's going to stay at tackle, right tackle, most likely. And so I like the upside of Dante Moore there. And like I said, they're not going to be rushing him to play. Stafford's playing great football here. He can play out his contract or play for 1 or 2 more years and be a mentor to Dante Moore. Dante Moore started at UCLA his freshman year, went to Oregon last year to sit behind Dylan Gabriel and develop. And it has looked at times really good for him. So he might not be against doing it again. Plus, I believe he's an LA cat. I'd have to look at where he was
Michigan.
out of high school.
He went to high school in Detroit, I think.
Are you sure?
Look it up, Jace. I'm sure on this one. Though.
I think you know. I'm not doubting you.
King High School, Michigan. They have black and gold jerseys.
Martin Luther King. You're right. For some reason, I was thinking he was an LA kid. That's why I guess maybe I'm thinking of Nico Iamaleava. That's why he went to UCLA. The guy that wore
pajamas during all those camps.
I guess I was thinking that's why he went to UCLA because was he not originally committed to Oregon?
He was originally committed to Oregon. Then he flipped to UCLA on signing day so he could go play because they got Bo Nix, and then he flipped back or
he's
transferred back.
I'll go back. Yeah, that makes sense. All right,
I was a dumpster
confused.
Fire. Yeah,
yeah.
Both 5 stars, Nico, and both dipped their toes in the water at UCLA.
For sure. So, but that will put you back on the clock with the Cardinals now at pick 12.
What about a wrench here? Is this a quarterback?
I think it's a serious consideration because I think Kyler Murray is going to be shocked.
Divorce coming.
Yes, and I do too.
Really quick sidebar: who's buying? Cleveland?
It's like you look at it. Could it be New Orleans with all the picks? Could it be the Jets?
Could the Jets should be New Orleans? I think.
You look at teams that are quarterback needy and might have the ammunition.
If it's the Jets, I would faint for every Jets fan. I mean, you line up 5 picks and then you go get Kyler Murray.
Yeah,
no slouch to Kyler Murray. That just lights the excitement on fire. I feel like, or the Steelers. What if Kyler Murray's the quarterback for the Steelers for the next 4 years?
Could be.
I think it's certainly possible. And to entertain it, just gonna take Ty Simpson here, man. I think Ty Simpson's good enough in this spot. And I think let's start it. I think there's a divorce on the horizon for the Cardinals. Kyler Murray's now out he's on IR. I don't know if he's out for the season, but it's the Jacoby Brissett show for the foreseeable future. And this offense has looked better with Brissett this year. So Ty Simpson, he's got weapons. He's got Michael Wilson, Marvin Harrison Jr. Feel like I'm missing somebody.
Trey McBride.
Trey McBride. James Conner come back next year. Trey Benson. It's not a fantastic offense, but I think it's one that should be better than it is. So insert Ty Simpson.
I don't hate the pick at all. I think that Kyler Murray will seriously be considered as a trade candidate, and someone will pay up the price for him. And that was a Cliff Kingsbury guy.
Price?
Probably 2 firsts. And that's why I'm saying, do the Jets look at it and say, hey, we'll give you the 32nd pick or whatever that pick from Indianapolis ends up being and a 2027 pick for Kyler Murray, and they keep their top pick or whatever? I don't know.
Brutal. I don't know. I would be upset if I was a Jets fan and that happened. But
they might be like, hey, instead of drafting, up at the top, someone like that, like for Fernando Mendoza, let's just take him. Now we take whoever at pick 3 and we still have 2. I don't know. Just throwing that hypothetical.
Yeah. I think it's a team that thinks they could win soon-ish and doesn't feel like spinning the lottery wheel, the roulette wheel for a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the Patriots. Maybe they need a backup quarterback.
We could use a slot receiver.
Rondale Moore pro comp.
Yeah, there you go. He's our next Julian Edelman, Wes Welker. We'll take him as a slot. They were, I mean,
Disaster.
Julian Edelman was a converted quarterback, so we'll take him.
Oh, disaster.
This is a pretty easy pick for me. I'm a big fan of Woody Marks. I think he's done tremendous, but I don't think
Great
he's a
pick.
running back one. So Jeremiah Love's coming off the board here. I think a lot of Bears fans wish he would have lasted 5 more picks to get to them. But Kyle Monangai is looking really good, and DeAndre Swift is getting a lot of usage in that offense. So props to you for the Kyle Monangai call out last year when we were doing running back stuff. You had him as a deep sleeper also, but Jeremiah Love to the Texans right here, giving them that rushing attack, because I don't think Joe Mixon's back. They got to get off of him with his injuries and age.
Yeah, Joe Mixon probably chief next year. There's my let's call that. Yeah. The Cowboys for the first of 2, because they were able to retain their second first rounder this year, and go buy Quinnen Williams. So they have a chance to jump on this window. I'm going to make a pretty easy pick here. I think TJ Parker still on the board at 14. If you're watching YouTube, it says 4 next to his name. I would think I would rank him closer to 14 than 4. But I do think TJ Parker is a good player. He's still got to listen right around 15% pass rush win rate. Clemson's had a bad year. TJ Parker has not had a bad year. Neither has Peter Woods or Avion Terrell. These guys are still good players. Cowboys need edge rush help. And they land TJ Parker here at 14.
Yeah, not a bad pick at all. Definitely. Probably from where he was in pre-draft rankings, people are going to say
a little bit,
slid a little, right? But I do agree. This is probably right
Ruben
in the
Bain
range
for that. How about that, right?
It's not really a slide when someone's literally just proved he's better than you. Like, he's really not done like enough to put him as a 3rd round pick. It's just like, there's guys that are better.
This slide could have kept happening because David Bailey's like a dark horse Heisman candidate, and Cassius Howell decides to get back-to-back sacks once a month, and Romello Height is awesome. So this edge group is very fantastic. If Parker slides, it's more so because of those guys.
Yeah. The Vikings are on the clock. I think that they need some help at corner, so I'm going to take Avion Terrell here. I agree with you. He hasn't played this best. I mean, the whole Clemson team in general has just been down. We've had this conversation
Music
before.
to my ears.
I was going to say, I could say that 18 more times this episode, and you would smile every time. So, but I still think that he has something in there. 5'11", 180 pounds. This is a guy that's been a multi-year starter there. He's played over 700 snaps last year in 2024. He's on pace to play over 500 again this year. And so we'll see. I do like Avion Terrell there. I'll take him bolstering up that secondary. We'll see if Brian Flores is still the defensive coordinator, but I think that you need corners in that system to play his aggressive style type of defense, and he can get them kind of back on track there. They have Isaiah Rodgers and Byron Murphy, and Jeff Okudah they brought in, but probably need another one right there. So we'll see.
I'm more of a Jermod McCoy fan, but I do think Avion Terrell's worthy of a 1st round pick. And there's the Caleb Downs dreams. Kyle Hamilton was picked 14. The Vikings at 15 here. They can dream. But in this scenario, he lasts just 2 picks. The Panthers at 16. If you told the Panthers fan before the season, you guys have the 16th pick, they'd been like, "Oh, what'd we get in our trade back?" But here they are. We'll kind of comb through the PFF needs here. Wide receiver, I don't think you go back to that well. Xavier Legette's actually had a little bit of a resurgence in the past weeks alongside Tedero McMillan, who's been great. Haven't seen much of Jalen Coker, who's been hurt, but I'm kind of comfortable with this room. I think you could do a better job of protecting Bryce Young, but ultimately I think that Panthers defense is what needs improving. Let me pull up my handy dandy PFF to see how they get after the passer and where their pressures come from. It's a lot of DJ Wanham and Princely Umanmielen, who I'm not the biggest fan of, and Nick Scorton, who's been very good, who I really liked. I'm going to get them more edge rush help. I think Princely Umanmielen can come in on 3rd downs, be an added, designated pass rusher. But I'm going to go grab them a true guy who I think can play more than that just designated pass rush role. And he's come a long way, because in the summer, I would have told you that he was just a designated pass rusher. But David Bailey has very much evolved. He's got the size to be more than a designated pass rusher, 6'3", 250, but his game was kind of just that designated pass rush guy. Now he's been able to hold his own against the run. He's always going to be a better pass rusher than run defender, but he's able to hold his own. And he's got a absurd 22.6 pass rush win rate this year. He is legitimately a Heisman candidate, in my opinion, especially if he goes out and wrecks BYU's game plan, which will be very tough because Bear Bachmeier is a stud, even though he wears number 47 at quarterback.
So sick.
Yeah, if you want to say that. But over 50, I think 60 something pressures this year for David Bailey. If it's not 60 something pressures yet, it'll be that after the game against BYU. I think Panthers fans would love to have David Bailey next to Nick Scorton. I think those two would complement each other very well.
Yeah, you can buy a good defensive line in college football, and there's nothing against Texas Tech for doing that, but getting him from Stanford was a pretty good deal for them.
And a pretty penny.
Yeah, he's a rich man already. He's not even in the NFL. I got to talk about this. I mean, but have you checked our chat in the Dynasty League?
No.
Someone literally just listed Kyler Murray on the trade block that says looking for a 2027 first plus for Kyler, future QB of the Jets. I promise you, we don't plan this stuff. This just happened. This just happened to be sent after we had that Kyler Murray, where could he go conversation.
That's awful.
So someone else is on the same wavelength as us too in our Dynasty League that me and Max are in together. So that's funny. Moving on to the Chiefs here at 17. I think we all can say that they probably won't be selecting 17 right here, but
it'll probably be closer to 32.
Yes. If they're in this spot, and I don't know if he makes it to 32, but he could because of the position he is. Travis Kelce's going to retire because he's going to be in La La Land with Taylor Swift. They're going to be touring with her. So I'm going Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon, the super athletic tight end. It feels like a cheat code, but getting Patrick Mahomes, another guy like that they can move all around the formation. Sadiq, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, and then, like you said, Joe Mixon as their running back, whoever it is. But it seems a little bit. I take
the Joe Mixon thing back now. I don't want to put that into the universe.
Exactly. So, but I will take Kenyon Sadiq.
I think that's a great pick. And Sadiq's had a better year blocking than I thought he would. He's shown to be more of a complete tight end than just that Oronde Gadsden type of guy, which crazy that we're using him as an NFL comp right now. But shout out to Oronde Gadsden, who's been a wide receiver with another position labeled next to him. But sometimes that's all you need to be Darren Waller 2.0. The Bears are up. We could talk about this all we want, but they might just take another receiver. Who knows? They like stacking up as many of those as possible. All seriousness, I think front seven has to be the spot to go in. Listen, I think interior defensive lineman's pretty dried up right now at this point in the draft. Just Peter Woods really stands out as a top 20 pick. Edge rush, I'd go back to Cassius Howell from Texas A&M as the best guy available. And then in that linebacker room, there's Sonny Styles, who I very, very much like. Let's see. Man, this is a tough choice. Sonny Styles or Cassius Howell. The Bears on their D-line right now, generating pressure, is wow. Montez Sweat, Jace, and Gervon Dexter are the only players on the Bears with more than 10 pressures.
Wow.
That's alarming. Cassius Howell now.
Run the card up.
Run the card in.
Run it up. Don't even let it get past 9:45 on the draft clock.
I don't know if the Bears can take Jeremiah Love if he's available.
That's true. If he were
find
to
a running back somewhere else, he's already on your roster. His name's Kyle.
Or you could take Jonah Coleman in the second, or whoever else, right?
Listen, actually, the class is not. Justice Haynes is listed at 140 on the PFF board. We need to fix that. Trevor Sickam, I know you're listening.
Change it now.
But no, Cassius Howell, I think he should be close to the top of the list for Bears fans. I think this guy's been super impressive this year. Not the best against the run, but he's going to get after the passer. That's what the Bears need. He's 6'2", 250, so a little undersized. I think he has really short arms from what I've heard. But it works in the SEC, so it's going to work to some degree in the NFL.
Yeah, definitely. Cassius Howell, if you guys haven't seen, he's the one that had 3 straight sacks, first, second, and third down, all in one drive. Absolutely just cooked the left tackle. But anyways, the Cleveland Browns back on the clock. You took Carnell Tate with their first pick or I think it was at pick 6. I'm going to go with a guy that
wow, there's somebody. Never mind. I'll let you make the pick. There's somebody I didn't think would be here.
well, it might be who I'm going to take, and it's Spencer Fano.
That's the guy.
Okay, and that's exactly because I think he could have been in consideration at pick 6. They need a right tackle. It's Jack Conklin.
Confirm.
You were thinking of him. There you
Yeah.
go. I read your mind. He's a top 10 pick in the conversation, right? He's had a little bit of a down year. He had a really rough game against Texas Tech, but those edge rushers give a lot of people a rough game. So, but Jack Conklin's 31 years old on the right side of that offensive line. That's where Spencer Fano's mostly played for the University of Utah. And like you said, he's probably the one guy right now that I could see sticking at tackle, or at least I feel most confident in him sticking at tackle. Caden Proctor, Francis Mauigoa probably would have a little more success sliding in, but Spencer Fano would stay out there. So I'll take him 19. I think that's a great haul in the first round for the Cleveland Browns.
That'd be another A+ for Cleveland. Carnell Tate and Spencer Fano. This team's been drafting very well. And listen, if hopefully they can get on another roll in 2026, only to butcher it by maybe taking 3 quarterbacks this time throughout the draft. The Steelers, no quarterbacks on the board. We ran that well dry, so the Steelers will have to bring somebody else out of retirement. Listen, I used to not mock receiver here because of Roman Wilson. Because I'm like, when is that going to happen? I don't think it's looking like it's going to happen, which has been a shame because I really wanted Roman Wilson to be a very helpful underneath option. They have DK Metcalf. Calvin Austin can't be your number 2 guy forever. So what better compliment to DK Metcalf than Mekhi Lemon, who's been an absolute monster for the USC Trojans this year. He's got a near 90 receiving grade. He's been putting up 100 on everybody except for Notre Dame. Leonard Moore did a fantastic job against him. We'll be talking about him next year. Mekhi Lemon in the slot for the Steelers. That's pretty terrifying next to DK.
Yeah, definitely can see that. I mean, he's just so good at creating separation, and it's incredible how often and how good he is at just wherever he is, whatever route he's running, he can have 5+ yards of separation. And so getting that for who's ever at quarterback, say it is still Aaron Rodgers, whoever it is at quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers would be a huge addition there. So moving on to the Lions at pick 21, I think they still need some offensive line help, even though they took Tate Ratledge last year. They do need edge help. Obviously, they just signed Aiden Hutchinson to a huge contract, and they took Tyleik Williams last year in the first round. So I'm not leaning that way. I think where I'm leaning right now is, again, another offensive lineman we talked about, and that's Caden Proctor, and moving him into the left guard position, building that offensive line to what it once was. Him and Penei Sewell, I was thinking about if they were both on the right side, but I don't think they'd move Tate Ratledge. I guess they could. Like, we're not ruling that out of the realm of possibilities, but could you imagine a right side of Caden Proctor and Penei Sewell?
Nope.
That would be stupid. So, but he's played mostly left tackle in his career at Alabama. So moving
and
him
wide
left
receiver.
Guard. Oh yeah, true. That's right. If Ben Johnson was still there, but I mean, Dan Campbell still. You imagine what they're going to do with this guy and Penei Sewell. They're going to align both of them out there and just throw screen passes to him.
Incredible.
So making the best offensive line duo that can also catch the ball and run the ball and do unique things. So Caden Proctor at 21 to the Lions.
Listen, I like it. You stole my pick for the Chargers. I was going to take Proctor and move him inside over there.
I love it when I do that.
Yeah. I'm looking right now at the Chargers corner room, and I'm very happy to see Cam Hart, somebody that I loved out of Notre Dame, leading their team in coverage yards allowed, which controversially is like, unless your number is egregious in yards allowed, I don't think it's the worst reference. It just shows you who gets on the field the most, who they're relying on the most, not necessarily who's the best, but who's out there. It's Cam Hart, it's Tarheeb Still, it's Benjamin St-Juste, it's Dante Jackson. I'm going to add Jermod McCoy to this room just because I think they could use a 1. And they're in an wow, lost my train of thought. They're in a division with Patrick Mahomes. So I think you got to shore that up and consider yourself a true contender in the AFC. To do that, you got to protect against the likes of Mahomes, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Bo Nix, who's been airing it out too, way down the field for lots of incomplete passes this year. But Jermod McCoy, I think, does a very good job of solidifying that Chargers back seven.
Yeah, would definitely be a great fit in there with Jim Harbaugh. Also, moving on to the Niners, a position they probably should have addressed last year, and I don't think they did. They did not address the offensive line last year, right?
No, and if they did, I missed it because they didn't address it well enough.
And they needed to. And so I'm gonna go with he's down here a little bit of ways, but I think he plays well. He does play left tackle, but he's Spencer Fano's running mate on the other side, and that's Caleb Lomu taking a left tackle there for the Niners. They still have Trent Williams, but he is gonna be gone at some point, maybe even next year. And so you got to find a replacement there. You got to take a guy, and I think Caleb Lomu's proven that he can be a first-round talent. We'll see how he finishes out the season. We'll see how he tests things like that. But I would take a swing on Caleb Lomu there at pick 23 for them.
Interesting. I like it. I think there's a chance he goes back to school. We may see that, but the Niners do have to make a move on the O-line. The Cowboys back at 24. This is Green Bay's pick, playing with house money a little bit here, but they do need to cash in on these picks that they dumped Micah Parsons for. I got them TJ Parker. We don't need to double up on edge rusher there, although it wouldn't be the worst idea. I'm not going to go to interior defensive line here. We'll check out the linebacker room. I think Sonny Styles would be a great fit for the Cowboys, and then tackle has been a big struggle for them. I don't see anybody that would jump in there. Isaiah World's had a decent year, but I thought he was going to take a massive jump. He's taken the jump you needed to see for him to be a day 2 guy. I don't think he's a day 1 guy. I'm going to help the Cowboys back seven here and take Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese's running mate at Ohio State, at the linebacker position, converted safety. He's excellent in coverage. So I think that would be a fantastic get for Jerry Jones and co. And Jace, do you know he's got a 0.0 missed tackle rate this year? So
that's pretty good for the linebacker position. Excuse me. That's pretty good for those guys.
I think so too. So Sonny Styles at 24.
I love the pick there. You don't know. I think that Logan Wilson has an opt-out after this year, so he could be done. They did just trade for him from Cincinnati,
right?
But his best football is behind
7th round. Logan Wilson, yeah, I had to bite the amount of hip drop tackles he's hit the Ravens with.
So you're glad that he's out of your division, is what you're saying?
I needed Logan Wilson moved, man.
That's good. Buffalo on the clock here. Joey Bosa's up there in age, so they could use an edge. I just wanted to scan the corner market. Chris Johnson's a guy that's climbing up boards. Don't know if he's quite.
I gotta watch Chris Johnson.
He's fun to watch as a group of 5 guy. He's fun to watch. Yeah. AJ Harris is another guy. The edge probably has a little bit better players that I'd feel more comfortable with, like Romello Height, maybe R. Mason Thomas. But I'm gonna go with Romello Height here out of Texas Tech. Edge rusher, again, to replace potentially Joey Bosa. Gregory Rousseau is still on the other side of them, but they can use more defensive help. I'm sure people are going to be screaming for a receiver. You could easily take Denzel Boston. I don't know how similar he is to Keon Coleman. He probably is very similar. I'm not saying I think they're very similar. That's my point. So I don't know if they would consider that. If Mekhi Lemon was here, you probably snatch that guy up no matter what. But I'll go with Romello Height here for Buffalo. Give them a little bit more pass rushing ability, because you know that they're going to be having to chase down Drake May. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to throw that in there as a Patriots fan, but a little, like, yes, realistically, like,
no, but yeah, if you want to win the conference, you got to track down Drake May and Lamar Jackson
and Patrick Mahomes at some point, right? Like,
yeah.
The teams that have beaten the Chiefs, and that hasn't been the Bills in the playoffs, they have in the regular season, they've been able to get home with 4 people. And so if you can build that around Gregory Rousseau, Romello Height, Josh Allen has the firepower. Yeah, Ed Oliver. They have the firepower to score with any of those teams, but they got to be able to stop them.
Listen, I like it. I think that's the right pick. And I don't think there's a receiver that they should take that makes a ton of sense, because I don't think Denzel Boston's the best receiver available. I don't think there's I don't think he's a great receiver for them. So Romello Height, guy who needs to pack some more weight onto his frame, but is an excellent pass rusher opposite David Bailey for the Texas Tech Raiders. 26 Seattle Seahawks. I'm going to take Vega Ioane. That's not how you say his full first name, but if you're watching on YouTube, when Jace gets to this name, you'll know it's Vega Ioane. The offensive guard.
Killed it.
Yeah, thanks. Self-pat on the back. The offensive guard from Penn State, who's had a major ascension this year. He excels in pass blocking from the interior, but he's also just a big dude, 6'4", 330. So this guy's built to play in that inner three. I don't know if he's got any snapping experience. Maybe we'll see in Mobile, but that's what the Seahawks have needed for the past few years. They added Gray Zabel in the draft this past year, and I think Vega Ioane really helps them shore that up because interior offensive line's been a need for them for a while. And we kind of dried up the well at linebacker. I like Vega over any of the corners remaining as well. So that's where I'm going with Seattle.
Yeah, another guy that's flying up boards. Huge, had a huge season for a team that had all the hype in the world and hasn't lived up to it. But him and Gray Zabel would be really fun to watch.
Yes.
That would be fun. I got to ask you a question about a guy that you were really high on.
I got an answer for you. Yeah.
Isaiah World, where do you see that he stands right now? Because I don't think he's quite lived up to the hype that maybe you or other people wanted.
And I touched on it at pick 24 with Dallas. I think he's had a good year, but I don't think he took the jump that I wanted to see him take to become a potential top 5 pick. And for those listening without maybe some of the background, because that's a huge variance, pick 60, 68, which is kind of that day 2 range, early round 3, which is where I could see him going, or maybe pick 45 in the second. The guy's 6'8", 320. He's got all the athletic tools you could want out of a tackle. So with that background and the transfer to Oregon, that's where I'm like, this guy could take a huge step and become a top 5 pick. He hasn't done that, but he's shown that he can hang at the Big Ten level. He's got that frame, still has that upside. So I don't think I'd take him in the first round, but I do think he's still worth a top 70 pick.
Yeah, the reason I asked is because looking at this board, I think he's one that had the preseason hype that I would still be interested in here. The guy I'm going to take, though, is another guy that I think is transitioning to guard, and that's Jennings Dunker right here. They need help on the offensive line, whether it's at tackle or at guard. Kelvin Dotson's their current right guard right here. So Jennings Dunker could move in to that right guard and play there with Steve Avila and other guys there. So I'll take him there. We took the future quarterback in Dante Moore. Now we got to protect the current quarterback so Dante Moore doesn't have to play right now and go in and be thrown into the fire before they might want him to. So Jennings Dunker out of Iowa to the Rams.
I really like that pick. And I considered him somewhat for Denver because I think they could use some help on the offensive line. This kind of leaves me in a tough spot, right? Because the Broncos PFF says running back is an option. I don't think you go in that direction in the first round unless it's Jeremiah Love. Tight end, I don't think you go that direction in the first round unless Kenyon Sadiq. Those guys are off the board. Center, Connor Lew's out for the season. I don't want to take him in the first round because I think we're going to learn a lot about that injury. And that's kind of the only center that I would take in the first round. And then linebacker, we took the Ohio State kids in Arvell Reese and Sonny Styles. I think CJ Allen, is definitely an option here. I think he's a fantastic player. I really like Jacob Rodriguez. I'm not sure if he's a first round pick with his play speed, although his instincts absolutely warrant a top 100 selection. CJ Allen's somebody I'd look at just because of his ability to go downhill and defend the run and just be everywhere. So, and that's the linebacker out of Georgia who's a little bit undersized, but I really like his play speed, his athleticism to be at an NFL level. And I know wide receiver was an option for Denver at the trade deadline, but in reality, like Cortland Sutton, Troy Franklin, Pat Bryant, Marvin Mims, do they need receiver? I think it's tight end that they really need in that receiver room. And there's just I'm not taking Eli Stowers here. I'll wait for Eli Stowers or Michael Trigg or Tanner Koziel or Oscar Delp, somebody like that. So I'm going to go with CJ Allen. I think you need some help in the middle of that defense. Yeah, we'll go CJ Allen. Get Vance Joseph, a Georgia Bulldog, a higher floor player at the linebacker position for the Broncos who could use some help there. But I think Denver would really like it if Sonny Styles was still available.
I think they would too. I think that they would really like adding to that defense a little bit more and adding a guy that's versatile like that in Sonny Styles. But CJ Allen, great pick there also out of Georgia, helping that linebacker core. To the Buccaneers here at pick 29. Now, I'm having an internal debate because
hit me.
I want to do something really fun and take another receiver.
Oh, well, listen, it wasn't a need last year when they did it, but Mike Evans broke a collarbone. Chris Godwin can't stay healthy, and we don't know when we're going to see Jalen McMillan again. Suddenly, it's Tez Johnson, Emeka Egbuka, and Sterling Shepard. So,
and I am having this huge eternal battle because there's three guys that I think Denzel Boston's the best receiver on the board right now.
Correct. I agree.
Chris Brazzell in that offense with Baker would be so fun. The one that I think is an outlier is Chris Bell out of Louisville.
Oh, my eyes lit up when my eyes kind of went down past. Yeah,
every single person to Chris Bell.
And Chris Bell is kind of that Chris Godwin role, the bigger guy that you can play in the slot. Ooh, I'm a fan. But Denzel Boston, is that like the Mike Evans replacement?
That's what I'm saying is you can make an argument. Hey, Denzel Boston is Mike Evans. Hey, Chris Bell is in the Chris Godwin role and not probably. He's way faster than Chris Godwin, like a burner faster and bigger too. Or you just got Chris Brazzell who can take the top off of a defense, but then you have your concerns about Tennessee receivers. It probably really comes down to Chris Bell and Denzel Boston. The other one it comes down to is helping the defense in R. Mason Thomas, who's a guy who had 8 or 9 sacks last year. He's on pace to have 8 more this year. But I think I want to take the fun pick. And it's hard for me to pass on Boston because he is the best player available at the position right now. So I think that's where I'm going to go. Plus, I think Egbuka is already taking over.
That's where I was going to go.
The Godwin role, or like the middle of the field target, always open, that kind of. He's totally different than Chris Bell. I'm not comparing him to him, but they need a bigger bodied X receiver on the outside to replace Mike Evans. And so I'll take Denzel Boston.
I wasn't going to make the pick for you, obviously, but I was going to say, well, the one thing that I would say is you have Emeka Egbuka on the team for the next however many years you want him. And whose role does he eat into more, Chris Godwin or Mike Evans? And I think the answer is Chris Godwin. And so I would take the player that replaces Mike Evans, but I also think could coexist with Mike Evans for a year or two. And you have a field stretcher in Tez Johnson, who maybe isn't somebody you view as such a long-term option, but in the short term, he's succeeding right now. Jace, the New England Patriots are on the clock. This is a spot where I would have loved myself not to have already taken Vega Ioane, because I do think the Patriots could use some help on the interior offensive line. Colton Hood's still available at the cornerback position, the young corner from Tennessee. Your guy Keith Abney is still there. I'm not sure if he's a first rounder. And then at the edge rusher position, we still have LT Overton, who I'm a fan of, from Alabama, who's a bigger edge rusher at 6'5", 280, kind of that more D end. And then there's also R. Mason Thomas, who's that smaller 6'2", 250 guy who gets after the passer. Like his hair is on fire. So I think for me, it's edge rusher, maybe a little Colton Hood. Is there something that you watch the Pats on Sunday and say, man, I wish I had that?
Well, as Drake May is elevating this receiver core, they still need a number one receiver. I don't think right now with Denzel Boston off the board, it's a huge risk to take Chris Brazzell or Chris Bell as a guy, especially with how bad the Patriots have been at developing receivers. I look at the edge rusher position. I'm very disappointed in how Carlton Davis has played so far, but you look at Marcus Jones just got an extension. Christian Gonzalez is in for a huge extension. Carlton Davis was signed last offseason. I don't think they need another corner in the first round. And then when I look at edge rushers, Kayvon Chasen, who was a former first-round pick to Jacksonville, has 5.5 sacks on the year, which is the most in his career. Who knows if the Patriots re-sign him? I would hope they do, but they need someone to get after the passer. They need someone that has their hair on fire, because Harold Landry has never really been that guy. He has the ability to do it. He has a couple sacks on this year, but he's more of a run stopper. So I would lean towards R. Mason Thomas to get a guy in here that can truly get after the passer. Right now, I think our two best edge rushers, other than our two best guys at getting at the quarterback, other than Chason, are Christian Barmore and Milton Williams, who are interior defenders. And so I think they need a twitchy edge rusher off the edge. So R. Mason Thomas is kind of the guy that I'm leaning to, if as a Patriots fan.
What's Harold Landry's contract situation? How long do you guys have him locked
I
up
believe
for?
it's 2 years. Let me check that real quick, but I believe it was this year and one more.
Because Harold Landry and Kayvon Chason have led the charge in terms of getting pressure on the quarterback. Harold Landry is the guy that participates more in the run at the edge rush position. So it's awesome when they take a guy like Kayvon Chason, who was on bust highway, and turn his career around.
So Harold Landry's on a 3-year deal, but he can get out after 2026 for $4 million of dead cap. So not a huge risk to get out of it. If they keep him on there, he would be an $18.5 million cap hit at 31 years old. So they have an option to get out of it after the 2026 season if they have someone, or if they feel like it's too much.
Interesting. Listen, I think the Pats defend the run and rush the passer kind of at a decent rate. So I'm just going to take the guy that I straight up like more. Because listen, I think you could go either way. You have those two good players. You could say, do we want to focus more on stopping the run? Do we want to focus more on getting after the passer? And I think they don't really have a glaring need at either. They don't have a glaring strength at either. So I think your goal is to get Josh Allen on the ground with as little people as possible. And I think R. Mason Thomas helps you do that more than LT Overton. So that's where I'll go with New England.
Yeah, I like to pick there. Like I said, as a Patriots fan.
And you can get receiver in the second round. You can get Chris Bell, Jacoby Lane.
We've tried to the last couple years, and it never works.
Yeah, Javon Baker, Jalen Polk.
Maybe just trade your second round pick for someone.
Yeah, Kyle Williams. Let's hold out hope there.
Yeah. The Eagles, I mean, in classic Eagles fashion, are they just going to somehow have like Arvell Reese fall to them and they take him and then everyone's like, oh my gosh, they're so good. They draft good every year. But stop it. Who's going to fall to them this year? Because it's bound to happen. I think receiver is a question here because A.J. Brown's obviously not happy. They have not thrown the ball well. Devontae Smith has had a decent year, but again, it's the same thing. Offensive line's getting up there in age when you got Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, even though they are really good. The defense seems pretty set. I mean, you take Jahad Campbell last year, you add Jalen Phillips at the trade deadline. You already have Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Zach Bond signed a huge extension. Jalix Hunt, you got Andrew Makuba, who's playing great football as a rookie, Quinion Mitchell, Cooper DeJean. Defensive side, good. It's crazy. The defensive side is so stacked. Like, I just read down that list. I'm like, I cannot believe that they have it. I look at offensive line as maybe the one that they need but don't need, because like Lane Johnson is still a really good option. He's just 35 years old. And Jordan Mailata is still a really good option too, and he's approaching 30 years old too. I don't think you need to get him, but you've had injury history with Landon Dickinson and Cam Jurgens. So, I mean, is there a guy that you would want to take a chance at? I don't know. I don't love it. Receiver, if I were going to go somewhere, I mean, maybe you go with a Chris Bell. Do you have anywhere, because it's so hard to draft for the Eagles just because of how stacked they are. Do you have anywhere that you would like to go or you think that might fill a need for them?
A.J. Brown makes me think they could take Chris Bell, just because I don't know how long A.J. Brown's going to be a Philadelphia Eagle.
Let's do it for the fun of it and how, like, people have compared. I think I read an article that said, is Chris Brown's Treylon Burke? Or, sorry, Chris Brown. I just mixed both of them. Is Chris Bell? Is Chris Bell? Gosh, is Chris Bell AJ Brown or Treylon Burks? That's what the question was. Like, which one is it? You don't know, obviously.
Pro comps have killed part of draft.
It really has. It really has. But we'll take Chris Bell here. That will be a good addition for them, and then that gives them an opportunity to trade AJ Brown for a second or third round pick and maybe, add somewhere else throughout the draft. So Chris Bell out of Louisville, the receiver that we didn't have in our summer scouting list, but Dane Bugler has been on him for a while, and now he's opening up a lot of eyes.
Yes, he has. Chris Bell's very impressive. I kind of, and bring this guy up every show, but I think he's kind of more that like Xavier Legette middleman. I don't really like comping guys to AJ Brown.
Yeah,
I think that's the Josh Allen comp at quarterback, where it's like, oh, you're big and run fast, AJ Brown. Oh, you can extend the play and throw the ball 70 yards, Josh Allen. And that's when you end up with Will Levis and Treylon Burks, just because you were attracted to a couple traits. And so listen, I like the pick there. I think he would complement Devontae Smith in a potential AJ Brown exit. For the Jets, we got them Fernando Mendoza. They got themselves A.D. Mitchell. They have Garrett Wilson. Do they have anything else? Not really. Mason Taylor. So that's your top three in that receiver room. This team doesn't play defense very well. So could be something to improve upon. Kind of look at that secondary. There's Colton Hood as an option. He's a very young player. I think a redshirt sophomore out of Tennessee, but he's built for the NFL. I really like Keith Abney. I know you really like Keith Abney, but I don't think I would take him in the first round. My bias likes Jalen Kilgore to potentially be a Swiss Army knife in this spot. I feel like that's a round or two early. And then at the safety position, AJ Halsey and Dylan Thieneman are my next two favorite guys. Listen, Halsey, I watched Halsey in person. I think he's a very impressive player, 6'2", 220 pounds. So he's built for it. And I think he's a better run defender than Thieneman is. Who do the Jets have at safety right now? This is totally acceptable to do that in the back in the 32nd pick. They have Malachi Moore, who they just drafted, which is totally fine. He can be, Andre Cisco. What's Andre Cisco's contract?
Let me look it up.
If Andre Cisco's going to stick around, I won't bother because they could.
He's on a 1-year deal. So he's
AJ Halsey's a New York Jet.
AJ Halsey.
He's a safety, LSU.
Yep, LSU.
Very impressive year for him this year. And listen, plays a lot of deep safety. His football IQ's put to the test week in and week out. And he's done a fantastic job at it this year. So we'll go Halsey and Mendoza for the Jets. Jets fans, let us know what you think of that haul. I think it could be better. You just got to hope the Colts start losing some games.
Yeah, hope that they literally don't finish with the 32nd overall pick, because I don't think anyone would have thought.
I made two picks where I'm like, it's the Broncos who should hope Sonny Styles available, and the Jets who should hope Daniel Jones plays like himself.
Yeah, 100%. So I'll read 1 through 16, and then you read 17 through 18. So at pick 1, the New Orleans Saints took Ruben Bain Jr., the edge defender out of Florida. Pick 2, the Tennessee Titans took...
Not letting you do that again.
Did I say Florida?
Yes.
They got to take this FL off of it, because that's where my eyes gravitate to. Restart, funny. Take 2. The New Orleans Saints at pick 1 took edge rusher Ruben Bain Jr. out of the University of Miami. Sorry about that. At pick 2, the Tennessee Titans took Caleb Downs, a safety out of Ohio State. The Jets took Fernando Mendoza out of Indiana, the quarterback, at pick 3. Arvell Reese goes to the Dolphins at pick 4, the linebacker out of Ohio State. Jordan Tyson, wide receiver out of Arizona State, goes to the Giants at pick 5. The Browns take Carnell Tate, the Ohio State wide receiver. The Raiders take Peter Woods, the D lineman from Clemson, at pick 7. Pick 8, the Bengals take Keldrick Falk out of Auburn, the edge defender. Pick 9, the Washington Commanders take Francis Malioga out of Miami, not Florida, Miami, DU, where Dwayne Johnson, Cam Ward, whoever else played.
What a couple of polls.
Where the Ravens at pick 10, who probably won't be here. Sorry, I'm not trying to talk you up, but I don't think the Ravens are going to end up at pick 10. But if they do, we had them taking Mansour Delane, the corner out of LSU. Yeah, you would like that. The Rams at pick 11 get quarterback of the future Dante Moore out of Oregon. The Cardinals to make a surprise and replace Kyler Murray with Ty Simpson, the quarterback out of Alabama, at pick 12. Jeremiah Love goes to the Texans. He is the running back from Notre Dame. TJ Parker, the edge defender out of Clemson, to the Dallas Cowboys at pick 14. Avion Terrell, the corner out of Clemson, to the Minnesota Vikings at pick 15. And at pick 16, the Carolina Panthers take David Bailey, the edge out of Texas.
17, the Chiefs get tight end Kenyon Sadiq out of Oregon. 18, the Bears get Cassius Howell, edge rusher A&M. 19, the Browns get Spencer Fano, the tackle from Utah. 20, the Steelers get Mekhi Lemon, the receiver from Southern Cal. 21, the Lions get Caden Proctor, the O-lineman from Bama. 22, the Chargers get Jermod McCoy, the corner from Tennessee. 23, 49ers, Caleb Lomu, tackle Utah. 24, part 1 for the Cowboys, Sonny Styles, linebacker, Ohio State. 25, the Bills get Romello Height, the edge rusher from Texas Tech. 26, the Seahawks get Vega Ioane, the guard from Penn State. 27, the Rams get Jennings Dunker, the O-lineman from Iowa. 28, the Broncos get CJ Allen, the linebacker from Georgia. 29, the Buccaneers get Denzel Boston, another receiver from Washington as well. Hello, Jalen McMillan. 30, the Pats get R. Mason Thomas, edge rusher, Oklahoma. 31, the Eagles get Chris A.J. Brown Bell, the receiver from Louisville. And 32, the Jets, they get A.J. Halsey, the safety from Louisiana State.
That's going to wrap it up, guys. If you have any thoughts or whatever, maybe something else that you would change for your team specifically, drop it in the comments below on YouTube. Make sure you guys subscribe, comment down below, like the video. And then if you are on Apple Podcasts, you want to flip over to see the PFF mock draft big board, why we talk about this live, flip over here, or make sure you follow us wherever you listen to your podcast. But you got anything else, Max?
Nothing else, but we would love to hear from you guys. We took 3 quarterbacks. 2 of them went to teams that don't really need quarterbacks right at this very moment. So we would love to hear your guys' take on that, your guys' take on where we went for your teams. Is one of your teams the one that missed out on an offensive lineman because this class isn't that good? Would you like to see him reach anyways, or are you okay going to free agent and signing this year's Dan Moore Jr.? We're looking forward to hear from you guys. We will see you guys. We're kind of doing a little bit of a once every other week.
It's a bi-weekly podcast.
Yeah, bi-weekly podcast. We'll see you when we see you. But Jace, I think until then, we'll see you guys next time. Thank you guys for listening. Peace.